Hello everybody all at once. This is Theo Cedar Jones on July 29th, 2018, and I'm here to deliver another significant portion of the Grand Unity plan, and this pertains to how the City of Oakland can be a key partner in the development of new infrastructure. And this infrastructure is two principal kinds. There's the physical infrastructure of the true commons and cooperative community in Oakland. And then there is the social infrastructure. And the social infrastructure side deserves its own special organ or entity within the City of Oakland that would handle responsibilities largely falling within the social infrastructure side of the equation. Of course, there's a lot of overlap generally between the physical and the social infrastructural, but for the sake of organization and efficiency, we're going to make a rough separation now. And Department 1 in the City of Oakland is the Oakland Cooperative Community Development Bureau. The Oakland Cooperative Community Development Bureau, otherwise known as the Bureau of the People. The Bureau of the People in the City of Oakland, otherwise known as BOP or BOP. So the BOP is responsible to interface between the City of Oakland and all of our other efforts to generate cooperative community or social infrastructure. Cooperative community is developed primarily in the following ways within the City of Oakland. So, cooperative housing support. It is a unique responsibility of the City of Oakland to channel resources into the area of purchasing domestic properties, residential properties of all kinds, shapes, and sizes, and converting them into cooperative community dwellings. Where obviously the rent is going to be a lot more manageable, approachable. This is a big answer to the housing crisis in the Bay Area and all throughout the state of California, that people have to live cooperatively to afford the rent. And the City of Oakland should be supporting this process and make it very easy for anybody who wants to make the jump into cooperative living to have all kinds of rent incentives to do so. That the cheapest rent would be in these city-approved, authorized, and subsidized residential units that are converted and adapted to optimize for cooperative community life. Of course, the City of Oakland should be doing that. So, the BOP is going to be engaged in coordinating the City of Oakland's efforts to build and support and build out the social infrastructure of cooperative housing. It's a no-brainer. I mean, of course we're going to have massive cooperative housing in the City of Oakland. And a lot of these cool legacy houses, and in the City of Berkeley too, of course everywhere, every city is going to do the same program. Of course, California leads the way. But, I imagine buying up my old house on Keith Street in Berkeley and converting that into a cooperative community house. And, of course, this would be the natural jumping off point and leverage point to create ark habitats and earthships and closed system, living system based sustainability projects in the City of Oakland. So as the city starts buying up, or a trust, an Oakland City Trust, buys up properties for community living, cooperative community development, we can convert those properties to earthships and ark habitats, and convert virgin lots and properties to earthships as well, and create new infrastructure for cooperative communities that are self-sustainable in place, in situ. So it is a huge major necessity for cooperative housing development in the city of Oakland to manage the bursting demand, because I predict that we have not even seen the beginnings of how much there's going to be an increased population. I know there's been a population drain in the state of California in some respects because the old corrupt Democratic Party was putting such a squeeze on small business and the quality of life in general. It was a cloud over our state. But that's lifting. And as these evil Democrats are flushed out into the dustbin of history, California is going to enjoy perhaps its biggest boom of growth and attractiveness that it's ever seen. That means huge population doubling or something in the state. And that means we're going to have to develop efficient, intensive solutions for homelessness and low-income housing and cooperative community living. And so you can expect that the BOP is going to be at the leading edge of long-term and sustainable resolutions to problems of homelessness and spiraling rents and inaccessibility of affordable shelter in East Bay. We're going to be at the leading tip of these solutions, and we're going to solve these problems once and for all, so that it doesn't matter how densely populated the East Bay is. We're going to have housing solutions for everybody. Micro-housing. You know, I have a personal obsession with the Swedish Earth Lodge. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Okay, other elements in the BOP are the all-ages clubs. So the BOP is going to interface with the GERM, the Global Union of Rock Musicians, in the development of all-ages clubs in the city of Oakland. And obviously, if you want to develop cooperative community, rock bands and all-ages clubs are one of the key elements of that cultural project. So we would expect to see the BOP in direct engagement with the GERM for the development of the all-ages rock clubs. And the BOP is going to be at the front and leading edge of the restoration of the commons, okay? Right now, the true commons I define as any place where human bodies can freely assemble or move. And that means mostly the sidewalks and the parks. And I propose that we come up with a standardized method to reacquire the true commons on behalf of human bodies and against internal combustion cars, or ICCs. ICs. Now, the BOP needs to restore what I call the grand promenades. Grand promenades are the bodily commons of the city of Oakland, or any city, where every sidewalk is refashioned on, let's say, the three principal roadways of a city. And I want this project to take place in the city of Oakland on MacArthur Boulevard, Grand Avenue, to start. So let's take those two as examples. Grand Avenue and MacArthur Boulevard and Redwood Road 35th. Okay, those three have been on the top of my list as to what needs to be reacquired by the people on behalf of the true commons in Oakland. And that means that if we allow for the inviolability of human bodies, we have to phase out the presence of the mechanical locusts, the internal combustion cars that plague, infest, overwhelm, and destroy the quality of life in virtually every inch of common space in our city and every city in the developed world. Cars have been weaponized and designed to be engineered obsolescence, toxic ambient threats to human health, lethal weapons of mass destruction in our midst, like a Viking raid that never stops, of these cars constantly threatening our physical safety and the sanctity of our bodily commons. So it is at the heart of the mission of the BOP, of the Bureau of the People, to protect the bodies of the people in the commons. And that means a phase out of IX and a phase in of human-assisted light electric transit, HALE, or HALE. HALE transit has to be invested in actively by the BOP so that there are city-owned fleets of vehicles that are registered as bicycles and don't need licenses as IX, as cars. You don't need to have a driver's license. You don't need to have a license plate. You don't need to have insurance. It's regulated as a bicycle. Examples of the HALE type of transit are the Pebble, the Rat Racer, the Archimotor. Look into those. Rat Racer, Pebble, P-E-B-L, Archimotor. These are just examples of what 90% of the people doing vehicular trips in the City of Oakland should never be using internal combustion cars, but only be using human-assisted transit, either light electric or conventional human-assisted transit. Scooters, electric scooters, or conventional scooters that are human-powered. Bicycles, three-wheeled, four-wheeled, light electric, bicycle equivalents. All of these should be the primary focus of our transit solutions in the City of Oakland. And we should phase out with prejudice the presence of internal combustion cars in the City of Oakland, and we should lead the way in that. So we're going to make the City of Oakland what I call Bright Oakland, a model and destination city for arts and culture and sustainability, or basically one big theme park dedicated to sustainability and arts and culture. And Bright Oakland will be a model city, a destination city, leading the way for every city in the world to have its quota of all ages rock clubs, its Global Cooperative Forum Pavilion, and its Rock Academy. And finally, the Bureau of the People is going to interface with the development of all of the cooperative nonprofit rock infrastructure in every city, but certainly the City of Oakland first and foremost. So the cooperatively owned nonprofit record label for local bands in the City of Oakland. The cooperatively owned nonprofit radio station for local bands in the City of Oakland. the cooperatively owned nonprofit Rock and Roll Music Press in the City of Oakland, and of course the Playland app, the phone app, which is the Gig Finder, Band Finder, Show Finder app, open source phone app that will enable bands to automate virtually the process of getting gigs. It will automate the process of people finding the best local live rock shows to see, and it will automate the process virtually of clubs and venues finding the appropriate bands for their calendar. So the Playland app is another important part of how cooperative community and social infrastructure is to be developed in the City of Oakland. And that is largely driven by the Germ and the Global Union of Rock Musicians in partnership and cooperation with the Bureau of the People, aka the Oakland Cooperative Community Development Bureau. Now that handles the side of things which is the social infrastructure, but the physical infrastructure is handled by another organ or entity within the City of Oakland known as the Oakland Department of Arts and Cultural Commons. The Oakland Department of Arts and Cultural Commons is responsible for the build-out and development of all physical infrastructure for cooperative community and the improvement of the commons. Now, to finish, the idea of the true commons includes these grand promenades. For example, on MacArthur Boulevard, Redwood Road, 35th, and Grand Avenue. That from one end of each of these streets to the other, on both sides of the street, the sidewalks are wide enough for two people to walk abreast in opposite directions and never have to get out of each other's way and never have to dodge utilities, mailboxes, lamp posts, bus stop, kiosks, you name it. The Commons is littered and infested. Even trees count as a utility that are in the way of the Grand Promenade. So if you need to have a lamppost, if you need to have a tree, if you need to have a bus stop, you never put it in the way of where the two humans on either side, four humans walking abreast in two directions, would never be interrupted in their flow, never have to dodge each other or utilities. That is my definition of a grand promenade. And that means all the infestation of utilities must be pushed aside, and areas where overuse of space for internal combustion cars needs to be shrunk so that it's more devoted to these smaller human-assisted light electric vehicles and people on foot, and overall shrink the size of the vehicles in weight and overall profile so that the harm and damage that they cause, the amount of space they take up, and all the associated ills and downstream problems of the internal combustion car is drastically reduced. The quality of life in the City of Oakland goes fantastically up. And it becomes more like Disneyland, where you don't get interrupted by the needs and necessities of internal combustion cars infesting every fucking square inch of your human commons. We're taking the commons back. This is a bodily occupation of the commons for the sake of human bodies. Human bodies are the point, not the ego vehicles of the old death culture. So we have this other entity, this other organ within the City of Oakland that's more weighted towards, more dedicated towards the physical infrastructure side of things. And since it's called the Oakland Department of Arts and Cultural Commons. For short, we could call it the Oakland Commons. And for short, the Oak. Because the oak tree is the perfect icon and image of cooperative community and sustainability and beauty and arts and culture, everything good. And to say the oak means the intentional infrastructure that we co-create that's dedicated to cooperative community, sustainability, and arts and culture. The oak is the Oakland Commons, heretofore or now hereby known as the Oak. So the Oak is involved in the development, of course, also of the HAIL transit, the human-assisted light electric vehicular transit system, the reduction of internal combustion cars, the building of the Global Cooperative Forum Pavilion, the development of the all-ages rock clubs, and also the building of nature shrines throughout the city and the parks of Oakland. So, these are the two principal entities I propose that we begin in the City of Oakland to help fill in what you might call the civic urban piece of the grand unity, which is that we need the grand unity to be reflected in every area and sector of civilization, but obviously in the city. So the cities have to lead, and states have to lead, and ultimately America as an aggregate of successful local sustainability and cooperative community projects in each of these cities of our country will prove and demonstrate the new civilizational strength that America is creating, co-creating, leading the way. So, as I said in my other video blogs, the other components of the grand unity are the restored sacred hoop, or the prior unity sacred hoop, with the red tribe, the black tribe, the white tribe, and the yellow tribe all united in a new sacred hoop, guided by prior unity and the affirmation of the new social contract of prior unity, and guided by the person and presence of Adida and Santosha Ma in and as the Free Union of Renunciate Messengers, as the senior guiding entity of everything in all on this planet, and where our authority and our truth and our rightness come from, or all flow from those true principal masters, Adida and Santosha Ma. Our guidance in the seventh stage realization of egolessness flow from Adida and Santosha Ma. So that's the overlighting guidance for any and all projects I propose. And they're the overlighting guidance and principle of prior unity that undergirds the grand unity that I'm describing now as is composite of new civilizational entities and organs. As others fail, as the Federal Reserve and the United Nations and the European Union and other Democratic Party, as these fake civilizational structured entities dissolve, Adida is here, I'm here, Natu's Peace Open Conversation, and the people working on the ITNJ, and we're all working on our respective pieces of the new civilization. But I'm here to propose how cities can interface with the Global Union of Rock Musicians and other cooperative unions and entities to create the necessary social infrastructure and the necessary physical infrastructure of cooperative community, sustainability, and arts and culture. So those new entities are, to recap, the BOP and the Oak, the Bureau of the People, and the Oakland Commons. Da.